In 1997, the only boys I was meeting were the ones right next to me. I was 17, going on 18, with my nose in a chemistry textbook and my heart in the church. That summer, I traveled to the General Convention of the Episcopal Church as a representative of some college ministry program I've long since forgotten. I firmly believed in church. I believed in lining up in little rows, holding hands with strangers, taking sips of communion wine. I believed in young people gathering, singing praise music, and spending the weekend in sleeping bags on tiled church floors. We'd bond over emotionally loaded personal witness stories. I wanted to sleep on those church floors with those church people forever. I thought angrily about the other people in my life that weren't religious. I felt wronged by them. I hoped nobody'd ever ask me exactly what I believed about God. I wanted to believe in God so bad. I met Jeremiah the next to last night of that convention. He lived in northern Kentucky and was a year behind me in school. When he shook my hand, he was quiet. I was quiet. What do you say to someone that you instantly need to know, but he lives half a world away? We went to a youth party that night, the kind with soda and potato chips, and he danced with me the whole time, barely touching me, grinning, singing along to John Denver and Skinnerd, charming as hell. I wasn't planning to meet someone like you, he said. He was super into God. He was super into church. And he was super into me. The next 6 months were a cloud. While it was 1997, Jeremiah was not good at email. He wrote me frequent real letters on thin, crepe-like stationery, pages upon pages in perfect cursive. He'd write mostly about his life out there, the life I'd never seen and would never have a claim to. But he sometimes wrote about me. Sometimes there'd be pages filled with just song lyrics. And sometimes he hinted at the things he wanted to do to me. Hot teen cursive letters. We saw each other twice more. He came to visit here that fall for a now defunct retreat. Everyone's sleeping bags in chaste rows on the church floor. He kissed me for the first time that visit, after everyone else had gone to sleep. I felt complicated. I was falling in love with this faraway boy, and he was falling in love with the pious and holy girl he thought I was. I'd tell friends and priests about my doubts, the way my faith seemed more fragile than anyone else's. Doubt is healthy. Pray about it, they'd say. But I never prayed. It's not that I didn't know how. If there's one thing Episcopalian youth have, it's the perfect combo of the transcribed liturgical prayer of our tradition and the more touchy-feely, extemporaneous stuff at retreats. I just like to think, I said, when friends discussed prayer and all I felt was shame and this feeling of being left out. I offer up my thoughts, I said. God can sort them out. I probably knew I was full of shit, even at the time. I'd spend each group prayer time the same way, thinking about things I shouldn't think about. Thinking about sex, about masturbating, about what the people around me look like naked, about what the people around me look like masturbating, about what they'd look like screwing each other or like the priest. Then adding a layer of guilt for not only thinking about things I shouldn't be, but thinking about them when I'm supposedly opening up my mind to God, supposedly letting God see inside and see not just imperfection, not just sin, not just a huge perv, but also my sheer inability to be holy. I avoided prayer as much as possible. At the retreat the next night, a few of us sang angsty praise songs for a theatrical mime thing, where two girls dressed up as clowns and acted out a story of sin, reconciliation, and redemption. They danced, they fake drank, they fake did pharmaceuticals, and then They discovered salvation by reading a Bible and then chaining these tangible objects of their sins to a cross. Everyone wept. We were sleep deprived, seeking, and desperate for holiness. I cried the first time I saw it happen. I don't know if it was from some hope for forgiveness, a hope for eventually one day believing, or just from the intensity of feeling so much with so many other people feeling it too. And at each subsequent retreat, I'd look to the new people to make sure they were crying too, a measure of success. The whole clown thing was, in retrospect, an extreme play on emotions. It sounds so fucked up now, but it was everything to me back then. And as I sang, I thought, here and now, all of these people are certain that I am a child of God. It almost made me certain of it, too. I still kind of choke up, remembering the way the girls with their faces painted white and red hung chains around their necks. The way they hammered shiny nails into an oversized cross, their metal chains echoing through a quiet, dark church. Remembering a weary and heavy-laden child and a promise of a lifted burden, a litany of holy reconciliation. I'll always miss the good stuff. But sometimes I remind myself that we manufactured that entire thing. We designed it. We played the music and wrote the script. We painted the faces of those clowns. We knew exactly how to create this perfect moment in someone's faith, in mine. We were sleep deprived, not out of any sort of design or abuse, but because we wanted to stay up so late with each other, talking into the night. We never told each other our sins. We never needed to. They loved me so purely anyway. I wanted to never leave. Jeremiah flew home to Kentucky after that weekend with both of our lives all mixed up together. We didn't know what we were going to do, but we knew we wanted to keep doing us. The letters kept coming. He'd sing me to sleep over the phone, his favorite being Leavin' on a Jet Plane, which is a bit of a breakup song, but I loved it anyway. He once told me all about a weekend trip he'd taken, surrounded by his friends, and I felt this weird and unwelcome jealousy. I felt important to him. I felt loved by him, but I felt so left out. I never stopped to think about whether he felt that too when I talk about my friends, my job, my classes. We had such separate worlds. That winter, I flew to Kentucky to see Jeremiah for the last time, though I didn't know it would be the last time. I imagined finishing college and loading up all my belongings into my car and moving cross country, listening to like Jewel the entire drive. It was cold in northern Kentucky that December. Snow fell outside, a starless night. And with nervous hands, Jeremiah slowly took my clothes off in the basement of his parents' house. I was so in love with him. The way you can be in love with someone when you're 18 and you've really only spent less than a week in person with him if you add it all up. I felt overwhelmed with wanting a life with him, with wanting to be perfect and right for him. I faked it when I came because I was scared. I was scared of taking too long. I was scared of being wrong for him. He said it was so beautiful to watch me. His warm hands skimming my stomach felt almost holy. It felt transcendent. He was better than church. The thing is, I never felt God in any of the places I was supposed to feel God. Not in the teenage stuff, the retreats, the sleeplessness. Not in the Sunday stuff, the diluted communion wine in a silver cup, the fizz of a dissolving wafer on my tongue, the warm and sharp scent of frankincense flung around a vast cathedral, and definitely not in group prayer. Instead, what I felt in those things was love from other people, beauty, community and togetherness. What I felt in those things was secrets. What I felt was shame. I tell myself, hey, I'm progressive. God is the love from other people. God is the togetherness. God is the beauty in the language and the beauty in those silver cups on a crisp white altar cloth. God is the secrets, the shame, the way I'd spend an entire common prayer trying not to think about all the people doing depraved things, feeling so depraved myself. God is the lies I told myself. The day I left Kentucky, the snow had turned to muddied piles shoved to the sides of the roads. Jeremiah sat me down in his childhood bedroom and said that it was unfair to me, to both of us, to hold each other back like this, that he didn't want either of us to redesign our lives for the other. He was going to go to seminary one day, of course. He had a life ahead of him, and he wanted me to have mine ahead of me, too. I thought to myself, wait, is this breaking up? We're so in love. What is happening? At the airport, he kissed me goodbye and sang Leave It on a Jet Plane quietly in my ear. I ugly cried in the departure's gate. Past that brutal detonation of heartbreak, I stayed sad in a really quiet way. But I also didn't. I didn't stay sad. I also came home, and my life was exactly how I left it, because Jeremiah was never really a part of my life. I missed him in abstract ways, because there was never much of anything concrete. One night in a basement beneath the snow, dozens of letters back and forth. The unknown. The biggest thing I'll always miss is that unknown. The what ifs. And those aren't real. They're non-entities, but I'll never get over them. I sometimes still feel sad. It'd take me years to understand that I felt the exact same way about church. I never really had it in the first place. I almost didn't notice when I figured it out. It didn't happen overnight. I didn't have a moment where the light bulb came on, or as the case may be, the light bulb turned off. I'll probably always whisper the lines of liturgy etched in my teenage memories, because at least I know now. At least I'm not pretending to pray, and at least I'm not fooling myself. I'll probably always take communion, a sip of too warm wine from those silver cups. I'll always breathe in the frankincense. I'll never forget the what ifs, a great love out of reach. I never really had it in the first place, and I'll never really get over it. Thanks.
All right, that's Julia Evans.